6-7 on this, the 10th of January 2022. It's our first fortnight event. I think it's our 5th year having a first fortnight event, if I'm correct. First Fortnight is a festival that runs here in Ireland the first 2 weeks of January every year. And they run for those 2 weeks because it's the period of the year where suicide is at its highest numbers in the country. The drop off from Christmas creates, lots of stresses for people. So the whole idea of the festival is to raise awareness about mental health through the creative arts. We are just one of many, many events that are on all around the country over the next, in the last week and in the next 4 or 5 days as well. So we're delighted to continue that relationship. We have 2 guests, which I'll talk about in a moment. Just a quick outline of the night. We begin with the 5-word challenge. For those of you who haven't been here before, I'll explain the rules of that in a second. There will be a maximum of 30 to 35 people who get to read their poem after 15 minutes. Express your interest in reading through the chat system that Paul will run in the background. So there's all the technical stuff. I'm just going to sit here and waffle for the rest of the night. After the 5-word challenge, there's a few housekeeping announcements, and then we will have our 2 guests who tonight are Mark Granier and Massimo Elijah. I'll give you a little bit of bio on them when we get to it. We use the open chat window for general comments, and all attendees can use the chat drop-down list for private messaging between individuals if you want to do that. If need be, we will ask you to regulate your own audio just in case it's becoming a little bit too intrusive, but we will also do our best to keep everybody muted when you're not reading. And the challenge, so what's going to happen now is I'm going to ask you the audience for 5 words. You don't have to give us 5 words, one at a time. There's a competition. You'll be given 15 minutes to read a poem or a piece of writing that you've constructed using those 5 words. The winner will be decided by the audience. So there's a voting system where we, at the end of everybody reading their 5 words, you will be asked to put winner and the name of the person you think should win into the chat box. You can vote if you're watching on Facebook Live as well. Paul will do all the adding up. We will announce the winner and the winner. We will post to you, and you'll get a free drink as well from your own fridge. You can slip into the kitchen and grab yourself a drink from the fridge, or you can pour yourself a glass of tea. You can go to the shop, who knows, you can do what you want. But there's a free drink for the winner, but unfortunately you have to supply it yourself. I'm not really sure how that works out to be free, but that's the current set of circumstances that we're dealing with. So the rules of the 5 word are very simple. We get the 5 words, you're given 15 minutes to write. If you want to read, you put your name. Process, the voting process, I should say. Paul will do all of that for us. Now, we'll take the first 5 words that are typed into the chat box, but there's a key word here. The first 5 acceptable words is what the outline of the night says here. So, yeah, you don't have to be super clean, but, don't go too mad either. So who wants to volunteer a word? Oh, there's loads of them flying in there, Paul. So I have monks incorrigible. What a lovely word. I haven't heard that for a while. Oh, kerfuffle. Kerfuffle. That was one of my childhood words. Grecian. That's a word that I could be doing with my hair at the moment. And are you on the same page as me, Paul? Monks, incorrigible, kerfuffle, Grecian, and sensuous, yeah? Just a little bit too late there, Pam, with the word that you volunteered from the discussion we had just before we went live, I see. So we have the 5 words. These are the 5 words for tonight.
Kerfuffle, please.
So a kerfuffle, my understanding of a kerfuffle is a little bit of drama, a little bit of excitement, kind of thing. So there was the kerfuffle, people trying to get to it.
What? That was... Your audio is breaking. Your audio is breaking. I couldn't hear any of that explanation anyway.
All right, 1 second. I'm actually going to Google it there.
Yeah, it's an audio thing with your audio.
So a kerfuffle is a commotion or fuss, especially one caused by conflicting views. Did you get that? Hello? Am I dropping out there?
Can you repeat that? You are a
Is a
bit sad.
commo-
I did get what you said, but you were dropping out a little earlier.
Okay, so it's a commotion or fuss, especially one caused by conflicting views. Everybody happy with that? So again, the 5 words are monks, incorrigible, kerfuffle, Grecian, and sensuous. 15 minutes to write a piece. I'll give you a 2-minute warning and we'll take it from there then. Best of luck. Enjoy your writing. And nice comment, Jeff. We're having quite a kerfuffle with the audio. Excellent.
Yeah.
Mm. No. 2 minutes remaining, guys. 2 minutes remaining. Okay, guys, the 15 minutes is up. Is the audio clear? Cool. So we're looking for names into the chat for people who want, excuse me, who want to read on the open mic. Not the open mic, sorry, the 5-word challenge.
Can I ask a question?
We have 3 so far, so we'll start and you can just keep adding your names as we go along.
I think Mark's trying to ask you a question there, Stan.
Who does?
No, I was just trying to, I see you just add your name, do you?
Yeah, just add your name to the chat. Yeah. Just
And is it okay? Is it okay for me to do this as a guest poet, or is that kind of uncool? I don't know.
That's fine.
Totally
Oh,
cool.
are you sure? Okay.
Yeah.
Many a guest
Welcome.
poet has 5-word challenge.
Okay. Okay. Well, then I feel okay about it.
Devastated if he doesn't
Not
win.
that I'm going to win. But,
He didn't say that.
okay, I'll add my name. I can't add my name. It doesn't seem to take my
I'll
name.
add you there, Mark.
Okay.
Okay, so Catherine, your name was first to appear. So do you want to kickstart us, my love?
Sure. Mine's called The Kerfuffle. It's a little short story. It was 8 o'clock and the Grecian monk Nikolai was nowhere to, always getting himself into all manner of unconventional kerfuffles with tourists and strange out-of-body experiences, which more often than not had wrought incorrigible and horrible outcomes. The other monks had thus dubbed him the Rascal of Mykonos. But tonight was a bit different. He had finally succumbed to his latent sensuous yearnings, which he had not heretofore allowed himself. Sister Sophia couldn't help but ask, would they be found out?
Excellent. Excellent start, Catherine.
That was fun.
So if there's any other Catherines out there, I might put your surname in as well so that I don't get confused. Next up is Jeff Cottrell.
All right. There was Spanish truffle. The incorrigible monks were even worse than the drunks. They said that truffle eaters were all sinners. especially when they downed them after dinners. One said it wasn't Spanish, it was Grecian, the only flavor worse than the Phoenician. Another said it was divinely sensuous to eat a Spanish truffle with your mistress. But while these arguers went on with their fray, I stole the Spanish truffle and slipped away, and ate it while it was within my power. It was all right, parts of it a bit sour.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Jeff. Thank you so much. I presume there's some of you still scratching away, taking a little bit of extra time, or Fergie time as it's known in the world of British soccer. That's your name. And next up is Sue Blue.
Right. Okay. Let's see. This is very different from what we just had. So, history on repeat. Like monks mumbling their Gregorian chants among monastic Grecian columns, we keep our heads down, our hands bound, all sensuous stimulation blocked, our minds closed to the creeping truth surrounding us like the dawn of another century. The kerfuffle created on the world has cast an incorrigible shift, flipped left and right to sow confusion, seeding thoughts to counter what's to come. But deep inside we know that one day we must wake, no matter how hard we deny what we perceive on the surface, leaving the uncomfortable taste of history on repeat. Thanks very much.
Very nice, Sue. Brings to mind a song sung by Shirley Bassey and recorded with, I think, the Propellers, if I'm right. Anyway, that's me getting sidetracked. Next up is Richard Pierce, better known as Rishti, to those of us who know and love him. Hi, Rishti.
Hey, Stan. Let's ruffle a few feathers and cause a kerfuffle of consciousness. All those who serve something beyond the sensuous, this senseless accumulation of expenses, from stoic Grecians to pious priests to hardened punks to Buddhist monks, have incorrigible mindsets beset by their inability to attest that in essence, all they seek is truth, peace, and a mind that rests.
Excellent. Thank you, Rishti. No, there's a lot of people there that are regular contributors to 5 Word that I haven't seen their names yet. I won't mention anybody: Cedric, Lauren, Catherine Ronan, Philip Spillane, Rosie O'Regan, and the rest of you lunatics. What's holding you back tonight, I wonder? It's probably the fact that you're going to be competing with Cornelia. You're next, Cornelia, my love. Hey, Lauren.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Because my internet is a bit unstable.
I can hear you anyway, yeah.
Okay, thanks. So this is called Monkey. In a pillar, inside the pillar, sits a sensuous monkey with a sheet of brown paper for a head and a pen for a hand.
Yeah.
And a pen in hand.
Hi, Cornelia. Could you just start again and just go a little bit more slowly, because there is a little bit of interference. So just read a little bit more slowly. See how that goes.
Okay, sorry. Monkey. In a Grecian pillar, inside the pillar, sits a sensuous and a pen for the second hand. No one is told the ink colors, but we all know they are incorrigible. In a Grecian pillar sits a sensuous monkey, awful, for a head, and their hands are just hands, and to us their head is no danger. So we lock them in a Grecian pillar, monk.
You're muted there, Stan.
Yeah, sorry. Am I unmuted now again? Yeah. So thanks a million, Cornelia. Thank you so much. And next up is Cal.
Cheers. It's called betrayed not a hint of your desperation. Gilded symbols, you found a key to incorrigible locks. You imparted the art coveted in the tendons of each digit, earned in sensuous battle, those secrets unfolded in the kerfuffle of anxious eyes, stolen in the flight of fumbling hands. Now the organ stands like a Grecian urn, displaying its tragedy. Come and see, just as beautiful, just as fragile, just as still. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Cal. Thank you so much. Delighted to see a few of you there that I mentioned are typing your names in. The list is getting longer. Now we actually have a competition. Thank you so much. Next up is the one and only. Are you in?
I'm in Douglas, so I am.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you. All I can see is the notes app on my phone. All right. The metaphorical monks and the allegorical abbot, and the New Age nuns, those creatures of habit, and the radical priest, that incorrigible liar, raked the coals and tipped the little Grecian the fire. And they said that sin, well, it's a sensuous thing. And the only way to learn is to throw your hat in the ring. Red wine drunk, kerfuffle and holler. They took the bull by the horns and the dog by the collar. Thank you.
Lovely. Thanks, Carol. Mr. Philip Spillane.
Thank you very much. Yeah. If these sculptures could speak, there'd be mumbling monks, gargling Grecian philosophies learned on the tips of their tongues, as nothing is more sensual than seeing the naked shadows parade in Plato's prison, dance, a kerfuffle like the illusion of politics and the border identity. Book of invisible cities, alone in the setting sun, till all the monk's shadows ink into one. Thanks very much for listening.
Thank you so much, Philip. Lovely. Thank you, as always. Thank you so much. Now, we have a couple more to go at the moment, 3 at the moment. Lauren is next.
Thanks, Dan.
Hi, Lauren. Good to see you, love.
So a bit of first, this is just for fun, and all characters within are fictitious, and any resemblance to reality is purely coincidental and accidental, and I will not be reprehensible for any lawsuits. This poem is called "This Poem Will Win the 5-Word Challenge." I don't mean to cause a kerfuffle, but it's true. This poem isn't a prediction, it's a piece of propaganda. For I have purchased the promise of victory from the ancient on Mount Procedy. They plucked the starlight from the eyes of a newborn deer and bewitched the river that flows along valley. To ensure my ultimate victory, this treasure within my grasp, yet each month slips away like sand. The crown of laurels, woven with an Ovale logo and a link to the weekly 5-word window. But who can trust monks? So I doubled down and pulled a trump and unleashed a campaign of bribery and blackmailery. To Stan, that fellow with the Grecian hair and sensuous bespeckled stare, I hired a click farm to make his website #1 and my triumph as secure as done. To Mr. Casey, I threatened to reveal his book prose, which he has not 3 but 4. I tried, but Rosie is completely incorrigible, I mean incorruptible, and could not be swayed by my sweet words. Cornelia, well, that was easy, for I have seen her true heart, and all I needed was a Spotify playlist with 100 hidden gems from 2010. I could go on, but you get the point. And a 50-euro gift card to Waterstones that I promise will arrive tomorrow in the post. So to conclude, if you love babies and kittens, in the chat, type Lauren. If you want to save the whales and end direct provision, in the chat, night to night under a flag of peace and prosody and raise our voices and keyboards in a cry of Lauren. Thank you.
Okay, competition closed. Flattery will always get my vote. Unfortunately, I'm not voting tonight. And Paul Casey's not voting either, no, in this case. Not right, Paul? Brilliant, Lauren, thank you. Next up is Mark Granier, one of our guest poets competing for the 5-word challenge. You're on mute, Mark. Mark, you're still on mute.
There. Is that okay? Can you hear me?
We can now.
Okay. That evening, this is called That Evening, at Vespers, the monks were incorrigible, one kerfuffle after another. We took out the coracle, one moon-tipped wave ruffle after another. Peaceful, I was to say, as a Grecian urn. Still, but ravished also, sensuous too. I took my turn at the oars. From here, it seemed we could reach any further shore. Set up a monastery, why not? On a steeple of rock. Okay.
So much. There's somebody looking for the 5 words there. I think you've just got them there again. If you want to have a quick look at them there, they're in the chat for you there now.
Who? Somebody else. Somebody else. Okay.
Next up is Callum.
Oh, sorry, that was me from earlier.
You've already had Stan.
Callum.
Yeah, he's already read.
Oh, has he? Sorry, my apologies. Catherine Ronan is next.
Hi, everyone. Great to see everyone here.
How's it going, Lasha?
Sorry about that. Hi, everyone. Grew everything good in their garden. Award-winning cucumbers and courgettes. All was peaceful until harvest time, when the incorrigible nuns would descend with needles to mend their hems, if you please. But in 1977, 2 nuns made a beeline for the same hem, the monk with the biggest courgette. There was a fisticuff kerfuffle. I saw him first, said Sister Bernadette. His face is like something on a Grecian urn. Well, you will have to wait, sensuous Bernadette, said Sister Mary Contrary. I'm taking the first turn. And she sewed his hem all day long.
Thank you so much, Catherine. I'll start with the Catherine and finish with the Catherine, but that's changed now because there's a few people have come in with late entries, and the first of them is Pam. Are you with us, Pam?
I am. Can y'all hear me okay? This first time using these guys. Okay. Thanks to Mark, I got a prompt. A man boards a train going somewhere. Incorrigible he is in public view. Unwashed brokenness, sensuous stink, monk-etched kerfuffle, railway Grecian, hum, hum, hum.
Thank you so much, Pam. Thank you very much indeed. Michelle, I'm presuming that's Michelle Delay, is it? Or have we got another Michelle? Yeah.
Hello. That's me, Stan, I think.
Good. How's the isolation going?
Day 9 in the box. Subtitled. Was there ever a tongue carved in your closed mouth? Kerfuffle of Nikons and iPhones, cacophony of shots by cannons, angel, goddess, caryatid, carrying your delicate Corinthian load, your garment alludes to smoothness that does not and did never exist. Incorrigible Grecian sculptors and their monk-like shadows hack away at your sensual cheeks. Shut your eyes forever or as long as stone lasts. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Great to see you, Michelle. Mona, you were not too late, my love, so let's have one and try one.
Apologies, Stan. I meant for the open mic. I'm a newcomer and got mixed up.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's okay, no problem. So next up, and at the moment last up, unless somebody comes in with a very late entry, is Cedric.
Stan, I think we've got Alexandra on there as well.
No, I haven't got that. Was that?
Except that I didn't know that this was a 5-word challenge. I thought we were reading our own poems. Are we actually reading our own poems as well later on?
Sorry, I can't hear, Alexander. Have you got a 5-word challenge poem?
Yes.
You do. I'll see you in a second because we'll just take Cedric because I just called his name and then I'll come to you. Is that okay, love?
Okay. Can you hear me all right? Perfect. Okay, it's not titled. They walked into the marketplace in a formation akin to a procession. In a formation akin to a procession to easily break into the crowd. In spite of the general joyous atmosphere, the youngest members of the expedition could not ward off some anxiety. Today was the day all the business in the city was conducted, in this very square, either legal or completely unfair. This was the first time into this mercantile mix between a party and a kerfuffle imbued in a strange magic, one mess of a kermesse. The head monk broke into the crowd, the senior disciple closing the line, and the apprentices in the middle, having a sensuous experience akin to synesthesia. Midday sun, the smell of sweat and spice, the music and the dialect that only the Grecian monks could learn to speak. A sensory overload that the young were not ready to engage. And they were not to, but youth is incorrigible. As the youngest one out of prayer, staring too long at some toy in the distance, trance started and could not be stopped, putting an abrupt end to the mission.
Thank you so much, Cedric. Thank you so much indeed. So last on the 5-word challenge will be Alexandra. My apologies, Alexandra, for missing you a little bit earlier on. I think somebody flattered me in a poem and I lost my concentration for a moment.
No, I just, it's my first time, so I thought we were only meant to use the 5 words in the challenge and no other words. So shall I just read it? Can you hear me? Okay. Grecian monks, sensuous and incorrigible. Grecian monks in a kerfuffle. Grecian monks, non-sensuous and corrigible. Grecian monks no longer in the kerfuffle.
Excellent, Alexandra. Thank you for sharing. I hope you can see all the applause and smiley faces that you've generated on the screen there. Always lovely. So,
Well, I'm actually Greek, so.
Okay, so now, folks, it's time to vote. So what you're going to do is you're going to type the word winner and the name of the person you'd like to win, remembering that flattery of the technical genius behind the scenes and the MC does not necessarily mean that poem has to get your vote. I won't complain if it does, but that's not part of the rules. So off we go. Type in winner and the name of the person you think should win.
Catherine's.
That's true. There's 2 Catherine. So it's Catherine B or Catherine R. We'll worry about it, I suppose, if it's very tight.
Which is Catherine B and which is Catherine R?
Catherine B, first one. They've got.
Okay, thank you.
I like the old comment there, Cal.
Just ignore my first vote because in case we get two Catherines.
Paul now is activating the software that operates in his brain.
The virtual clapometer.
Yeah. The silent clap monitor, yeah. We should announce them like the Eurovision. Catherine R, 2 votes. Catherine B, 3 votes. Can anybody do a Terry Wogan impersonation? That's I'm showing my age there. No, Terry Wogan, Jesus. So I have a private message here that announces the winner to me. It has a name, and then it says, "Is the winner by a mile." I'm sure nobody's going to be shocked to know that the flattery of Paul Casey and Stanley Knott has made Lauren the winner by a mile. Congratulations, Lauren.
Okay, I can retire from poetry now. This is what I came to do, and I'm done. It was nice knowing you guys. Thank you.
I mean, it has to be said that there's manifestation in the title alone. Like this Paul will win the 5-word challenge. Lesson to you all: manifest.
Do you want me to read it again, Stan?
Oh yeah. That's the rules, Laura.
Okay, cool.
I don't want to
should
win.
know. All right, okay, cool. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. That's amazing. I'm delighted. Okay. This poem will win the 5-word challenge. I don't mean to cause a kerfuffle, but it's true. This poem isn't a prediction, it's a piece of propaganda. For I have purchased the promise of victory from the ancient monks hermited on Mount Procedy. They plucked the starlight from the eyes of a newborn deer and bewitched the river Booze that flows the Long Valley. To ensure my ultimate victory, this treasure within my grasp, yet each month slips away like sand. The crown of laurels woven with an Ovale logo and a link to the weekly 5-word window. But who can trust monks? So I pulled a trump and unleashed a campaign of bribery and blackmailery. To Stan, that fellow with the Grecian hair and sensuous air, I hired a click farm to make his website #1, and my triumph as secure as done. To Mr. Casey, I threatened to reveal his addiction to MacBook Pros, of which he has not 3 but 4. I tried, but Rosie is completely incorrigible. I mean, incorruptible, and could not be swayed by my sweet song. Cornelia, well, that was easy, for I have seen her true heart, and all I needed was a Spotify playlist with 100 hidden gems from 2010. I could go on, but €50 gift card to Waterstones that I promise will arrive tomorrow. So to conclude, if you love babies and kittens, in the chat type Lauren. If you want to save the whales and end direct provision, type Lauren. Unite tonight under a flag of peace and poetry and raise our voices and keyboards in a cry of Lauren. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Congratulations. You are going to receive 2 books. You're going to receive in the mail, no less. You're going to receive a copy of volume 14 of the Ovale 5 Words Anthology, and you're going to receive a copy of Muse by the one and only Jerry Murphy. Congratulations. And of course, you can now head to the fridge and relieve your own fridge and your own purse of a free drink, courtesy of all of us here at the Oval. Congratulations once more. Now, we move on. We'll be coming to our guest poets in a couple of minutes, but just before that, a couple of announcements. Paul will type the announcements. Sorry, Cedric, send those privately because they... Sorry. Brilliant, Cedric, brilliant. So we've got a couple of hosts. We get to the guest poets. Paul will type the announcements into the chat as we go, apart from one, Paul, because I meant to say to you earlier on, the Barras is on Wednesday night, and I'll announce that. I'll type it in, okay? Thanks. So the first one is that the 9th 5 Words International Poetry Competition continues. For those of you who are unaware of what that is, it is a 5-word challenge where you're given 5 words on a Tuesday morning and you have a week to write a poem. You can enter it online, and it's a one prize at the end of the year. I think is there €500 again for the winner this year, Paul, or are we?
No, it's 750, 500, 250, first, second, third.
750 for the first, 500 for the second, 250 for third, and the winner also gets a nice glass trophy as well. So you can submit to the submission details are on ovail.ie, and the 5 words for this week, the 11th to the 18th of January 22, are date, stitch, remember, bright, and earth. That's date, stitch, bright, earth. And Paul has just added those into the chat as well. If you want them, you can copy and paste them, or apparently you can download the entire chat when you want to as well. Now, next announcement is Ovail aims to maintain a safe place for writers and the general public. While we discourage self-censorship, we expect participants to be sensitive to and to refrain from any offensive or discriminatory language, including that relating to race, gender, religion, cultural background, etc. This is in line with the Arts Council's Equality, Human Rights and Diversity policy. Groups. Participants to use during this event, so we ask that you please be respectful when communicating via these channels, and we encourage you to report any offensive or unlicensed abuse to Ovail either through the private chat or to info@ovail.ie. So we thank you all for your adherence to that in advance. Please be aware that the event is recorded and will be available to revisit as an MP3 podcast and on vimeo.com Ovail. Wednesday night, the night after tomorrow night, so Wednesday the 12th, the Debarra's spoken word events continue with a workshop from Derek Flynn. It's a workshop on self-publication. It's on at 8:30. You can get the details of the Zoom link by emailing debarras@gmail.com. I think that's the correct email address, or you can get them on Facebook or online. I'm typing that into the chat. So Wednesday, 8:30 on Zoom, Derek Flynn self-publication workshop with an open mic as well for the Debarra's series of events. Our next event, which hopefully will be a hybrid event. God, wasn't it great to have a couple of hybrid events? And the Zoom is great, but it's even more, for me anyways, even more challenging. I had a taste of being with people again. Is on Monday the 14th of February, and it features new writers or new work from writers in the UCC's MA Creative Writing Programme. It's all here, always. It's always a fantastic night. You can email info@ovail.ie if you would like to attend in person. There will be a limited number if we are at a hybrid event. So I think it's the first 30. So if you're interested in attending that and you want to make sure you're there, if we go ahead with a hybrid, email info@ovail.ie. The launch of the Blue Mondays Poetry Anthology is on January the 20th at 6:30 to 8 p.m. on Zoom in association with Cork City Libraries. I won't be there. I'm devastated I won't be there. Rosalind Blue and Philip Spillane and probably a few other people are holding up copies of the book at the moment. You can order the Blue Mondays Poetry Anthology via this PayPal link. Are you typing that in there, Paul? Yeah, you are. Thank you so much. 50% of the proceeds go to the Cork Simon community to help fight homelessness here in Cork. And you can please follow writers@gmail.com to make sure he has your order and shipping details. It's also available if you're in Cork in Vibes and Scribes. And is there somewhere else in Cork, Ross?
Oh my God, there's actually by now plenty of places in Cork that have it at the moment, and I'm following up all the time. So for now, it is in Cork City Library, who have funded the book towards the printing costs, which is absolutely lovely and gratefully received. The Mayo Cafe have it. Natural Choices Paul Street have it. Funky Skunk will get it this week from me. Robbie's Bike Shop, the Cork Bike Smith in Monaghan Road has it. Dervish have it in the Coal Quay. Casa Craft will take 5 as well in the Coal Quay, and the Rooftop Farm, Cork Rooftop Farm already have 5, and I'll bring it out to Carrigaline Bookshop. It is also in places outside of Cork City, in smaller towns, and many bookshops.
Okay, so will you type the into the chat box for us, Ross?
We'll be listing them. Yeah, we're also publicizing them throughout on the social media. So if anybody of our group is here and wants to type in the places it's available, please feel free to do so. Thank you very much.
So if you get a chance, you might type in a full list there while the guests are speaking tonight for us, would you? That'd be great. Thank you very much. No. Thank you to everyone who has kindly offered donations. The donation jar is near the door, but there's none of us in the Long Valley, so that doesn't matter. PayPal donations, however, can be made via the link above the live poetry stage on our website or via our contact page. And I'm sure Paul is going to shove that in there now, are you? There it is, look. So you can make a donation virtually. Isn't that wonderful? From anywhere in the world, you can donate 5,000 euros or $5,000. Oh, sorry, there's no actual amount. You don't have to donate $5,000. Anything at all would be more than welcome. So we thank you for that, for those of you who are making donations. We thank you for being here as well. Of course, you being here is enough. But if every arts organisation, we always need more, as they say. And now, enough waffle, enough housekeeping, enough of Lauren celebrating her glorious win and me basking in the glory of her compliments. Let's get on with the stars of the show. So we have 2 guests tonight. I'm going to introduce them as they read. So I'm going to introduce the first guest, who's Mark Granier now, and then I'll give Massimo's bio when Mark is finished. They're going to read for about 20 minutes each. So Mark Granier's poems have been broadcast on RTE. For those of you who don't know, that is the Irish national television station and radio station, and has appeared in numerous outlets, including The New Statesman, Poetry Island View, and Carol Ann Duffy's online pandemic project website, Right Where We Are Now. His 5th collection, Ghostlight, New and Selected Poems, was published by Salmon in 2017, and he currently lives in Bray, County Wicklow. Please give a big, huge, warm, Ovale welcome to Mark Granier.
Hi, can you hear me? I'm delighted to be reading at Ovale. It's a wonderful series, and I'm glad that it's. I'm going to start by reading a very, very short poem from my new and selected, and I'm just going to time myself. Actually, I forgot to turn on the thing. So this is actually a found poem. I don't often write found poems, but it's taken from an article by which I read in the New Yorker about people who actually, I'm not going to explain it. I'll just read it because it spoils in a way to explain it. It's called The Golden Gate, Crossing the Cord. I instantly realized that everything in my life that I'd thought was unfixable was totally fixable, except for having just jumped. So those are the words of a guy called Baldwin, who actually survived the jump from the Golden Gate Bridge and lived to tell the tale. And it really struck me at the time. Apparently there was something like 12,000 people at the time, that was 2003, who jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. This is another poem. I should mention, the reason I selected this one is called Holes, Holes, Holes. He told me about the hole he'd fall into, how dense and impervious it was, composed of stuff that no knowledge or chemical dissolved. It didn't matter that he was a doctor or that he knew he'd clamber out sooner or later. The hole was a compact singularity, dependable as hell. There was his surgery every morning, and evenings fortified with conversation and a few glasses of good wine. Whenever he'd feel the ground give way, he'd check himself into St. John of God's, a doctor who found himself in a room with no door handle, another kind of hole. Friends for a while, we fell out of touch for years. When someone told me they'd seen him looking on well, I dropped a postcard in his letterbox, and we met in a pub nearby. He had lost his practice and practically everything else, including the woman he'd been engaged to. Candid and gentle as ever, he seemed to want nothing more than to be left to walk his dog, Annie, on the pier. Being a doctor, he knew how to make one clear exit, an express lift, through the dark to the bright center of the earth. He took it eventually. I met him. I miss him. Would another card or call have helped? Better, I think, to return the spontaneous hug he once surprised me with. How many of us are in less lethal, more permanent holes, ones that are apparently invisible, whose sides are wallpapered with windows, clouds, streets, a walk with the dog on the pier, another round. And this one is called The End, etc. The 22nd, 1844, as Reverend Miller's disciple had predicted it would. We are living in its aftermath, along with all the other Millerites who suffered through what became known as the Great Disappointment, to regroup later as the Adventists, then the Seventh-day Adventists, who now have a worldwide membership of 20 million souls. The human mind is a stepped on that miraculously unsquishes itself to invent Braille, write a brief history of time, or develop a new material, something that will prove impervious to the slightest trickle of doubt or the weight of a toddler's sandal, which is the weight of the world insufferably carrying on. Two endings in memory of Anthony Glavin. It's been playing in my head all morning, last night's dream, in which I am spending time with Anthony, my older friend and mentor, talking about nothing serious, neither of us rubbing each other up the wrong way. I don't often meet Anthony in dreams, though his presence is always to hand, humorous, stern, standing behind me, ready to hijack the mouse and hit delete, like the time he handed back my first MS, divided into two A4 envelopes, the slimmest one titled Possibly with More Work, and the other twice as thick, Flogging a Dead Horse. He was someone you could call in the small hours to hear that steadying voice. It's all right. It's only a panic attack. You're not going to die. When emphysema imprisoned him, I carried a pager for emergencies, worries, frettings. On my second date with the woman I'd marry, apologizing for abandoning her in the cinema as the lights dimmed for the man who wasn't there. I wasn't the night he died in the Mater, 6 months after his heart-lung transplant. I'd witnessed the post-op surge of possibility. His voice returned, his hope for 3 more years, enough time to finish his long poem, travel to India, then the rapid slide, his exhausted, brittle body rejecting the for good. I hadn't seen him in weeks and wasn't prepared for his appearance, huddled in a low-lit room, unmoving, a big tube in his side. Did I say something lame? Did I even speak? He shot me one withering glance and turned to the wall. And that was it. Nothing can dream away that look. I can only ward it off. With an afternoon years earlier in St. Michael's, when they had to put him back on the ventilator. I'll be right here, he said, pressing my forehead, quoting E.T., his light touch, commonplace, real, as sunlight on a stripped bed, that indelible smile. To know, but we're afraid to ask. So it's called Everything You Always Wanted to Know. At 15, I found Burt Reynolds in my mother's bed, stowed under her pillow in a Cosmo centerfold. Impossibly hairy, recumbent on a bearskin rug, a chewed cigarillo between his lips. He was grinning, happy to be discovered, even as I slid him back where I'd found him, like the miraculous medal she'd hidden under my mattress, like the legion of things that will never be spoken, and what will remain unsaid about the convent girl who'd strayed enough to give birth to 2 children, how she found ways to widen a single bed and kick her cold Catholic hot water bottle onto the floor. V-Day, this is called. I think, yeah, well, I may as well say it stands for Valentine. V-Day, patron of beekeepers, epileptics, and what stuck, that risky body double tucked into an outsized Xmas card, a bunch of sugary cellophaned flowers in their watery pouch. A celebration of the flip side would make more sense. The saint of what remains, and the ache begins to subside. The lachrymose pillow is punched aside, and you finally wake to, hey, it's hole in a heart but a clean wound day. The verdict on Chagall. I should mention that the first 2 lines are a quote from the German authorities, who oversaw Chagall's art. His art was obviously degenerate quotations, degenerate art at the time. So the German authorities, the new German authorities, as they were called, made this judgment, and that's in quotation marks in the first 2 lines. So the verdict on Chagall: green, purple, and red Jews shooting out of the earth, fiddling on violins, flying through the air. In the words of the new German authorities, you can hear an attempt to scribble over this assault on poor Western civilization, as if it were the victim that must barricade itself from time to time in panicky walls, lest it become submerged in stained glass aquatic light, greens, purples, reds, moons afloat, lovers and cows, villages with yellow rooms you can swim through, surfacing without breaking the surface, if only you step out of these bloodied and soiled clothes into your first skin, the one that never learned how to be terrified by a lack of gravity. Okay. So, Pinball Wizard. At 15, I was on top of the world, prizing loose big wedges of scree to watch them wobble like liberated wheels down a hill in West Cork. Fascinated as each fractal of landslide gathered momentum to topple and finally die in a minuscule field, I freed and followed its progress as it crashed over rock tore through heather, gorse, and a grove of saplings to slice an unerring dark line across bright bracken till all that barricaded my missile that half collapsed, but held, and it hit me. This is called Marvelous. And again, I'm keeping in mind the fact that we're in this, this recognition of mental health. Marvelous. Another filthy night and a week of gales. Our big sash windows rattling so hard I had to wedge bits of cardboard between their frames. The doorbell might have been going for some time before I noticed. I thought it must be my aunt, come down from her upstairs flat to look in on my mother. A stranger stood there, a man in a yellow anorak, wet hair flat on his skull, clutching in his left hand a paper bag, his face bearded and solemn, the eyes meeting mine head on or staring through me. The voice clear, urgent. You think you're marvelous. You think you're marvelous. You think you're marvelous. Monotonous, but with feeling. A needle dropped in the midst of a record, skipping, repeating, scratching my lame response. I'm sorry, but I think you have the wrong. You think you're marvelous. You think you're marvelous. You think you're marvelous. This is for you. He was holding towards me the crumpled paper bag that might have contained a half-finished takeaway meal or a bunch of severed fingers. His other hand was in his anorak pocket, gripping something more dangerous? No. He seemed like Beckett's Neary, 100% harmless. On his locked stare, I closed the door. Standing in the narrow hall, I heard the theme tune, my mother settling in for Coronation Street. Along our rain-lashed avenue, a fellow human was on the loose, somewhat lost, wandering house to house with his paper bag and scrap of a message, a torch with a faltering battery, a missed connection sparking into the future, becoming something else, our rickety old flat in that period house, decades before we left. My mother, alive with her arthritis, our cat, Claire, asleep on the TV, me still standing there, as if I had just stepped in, having traveled miles through the corrosive dark. This is for you. This is quite a different poem, called Customs. And there are 5 customs mentioned, and I'm not going to tell you which ones are real and which ones are made up. You can guess. Customs. Where I come from, buildings are circular because the devil conceals himself in corners. Where I come from, talking to oneself is a certified sign of sanity. Where I come from, when the moon is full, we leave out a saucer of milk in case the moon people are thirsty. Where I come from, we prefer to point with our lips. Where I come from, we set aside a day to unbury the dead, hold them above our heads, and dance. This is one of those poems that stems from a question. The question was one of those questions that people ask from time to time, or at least a sort of a riff on that kind of question. Anyway, it's called Place of Worship. When somebody asked if poetry is a broad church, I thought clouds had been known to nest in the vault and, depending on where you stand, either altar or narthex is well over the horizon, or the whole thing could be comfortably stowed in the shell of a narrow-mouthed whorl. No, and yes. This is one of those awkward, difficult forms of villanelle, though I have to say I find villanelles, I wrote a couple of them recently, I find them easier to write than sestinas. Sestina is a bloody killer. Anyway, the villanelle, this villanelle is called Which Service, which is an American question that you get when you dial the well, the equivalent of 999 over here. They ask you, the operator asks you which service, and you say the police or whatever. Which service? This isn't an occasion for light verse. Millions have suffered an insult to the brain. Call the ambulance. No, make that a hearse. Of course, the situation could be worse, and democracy go chuckling down the drain. This isn't an occasion for light verse. His fans may go on chanting or disperse, but there's no vaccine for this native strain. Call the ambulance. No, make that a hearse. We don't need the makings of a curse when the wounds are self-inflicted. Yet again, this isn't an occasion for light verse. The eyes are empty, the mouth an open purse that never could be snapped shut. There's no gain in calling an ambulance. Make that a hearse. Deep in his own tremendous grave, the earth's a furious shitstorm. No need to explain. This never was an occasion for light verse or calling an ambulance. Here comes the hearse. This is a little thing I decided to add. I don't know if it's even a poem really. It's another found poem, I suppose, but it's selections from a letter. And it was published in an article called A Splendidly Uncivil Servant by Stan Gebler Davis in The Independent in March 1993. So I took liberties and I published excerpts, and then the last few lines are my own. But the rest is all this. I call it Letter from the Keeper. St. John's Point Lighthouse, County Down, 9th of August, 1950. To Engineer, Irish Lights Office, Dublin. Sir, I have to report the painter, B. Bean, absent from his work all day yesterday and not returning to station until 1:25 a.m. He is willfully wasting materials, opening drums and paint tins by blows from a heavy hammer, spilling the contents, which is now running out the paint store door. His language is filthy, and he is not amenable to any law or order. He mixes paint, etc., with his bare hands and wipes off nothing. Empty, stinking milk bottles, articles of food, coal, ashes, and other debris litter the floor of the place, which is now in a scandalous condition of dirt. He is the worst specimen I have met in 30 years of service. I urge his dismissal from the job now before good material is rendered useless and the place ruined. Your obedient servant, signed D. Blakely. After which B. Bean was retained by Irish Lights for another summer, which may have surprised D. Blakely, who had done his best to ensure that this specimen never again darkened the door of a lighthouse. See how long I've got left, actually. I'm trying to time myself, but my phone switches itself off. Okay, I've got time, I think, for about one more poem. I read a poem called Heavens. Simone Weil thought humans don't have the power to travel in a vertical direction, but should keep one eye on heaven and wait for God to pick us up, like a parent on a school run. Auden designed his paradise meticulously, down to landscape, means of transport, interior decor, and statues, only famous defunct chefs. According to the Catechism, a state of supreme and definitive happiness, the goal of the deepest longings of humanity. Migration to the great pleasure center, warm heart of the hive, fanned by wings. Do you want to be happy forever and ever? Bliss without end. Amen. Talking heads might be nearer the mark, the place where nothing ever happens, but at least there's a party. Our deepest longings, swarming us into burning walled cities, 4 a.m. bars, any place to muffle that scratchy little voice, unbearable as tinnitus. Who or what kind of contraption am I? And why do I want what I really, really want? Maybe it's where good jokes go after they die. The Tommy Cooper kind, a few simple props, the timing perfectly imperfect, right to the last. Everything is prepared. There is no excuse. I come with my big dumb suitcase, bulging, haphazardly packed, and would like to go somewhere, take the scenic route, the blue highway, from here to here.
Thank you, Mark, so much. Lovely reading and a lovely selection, given the mental health. It was interesting for me that you opened with a poem about the Golden Gate Bridge. A friend of mine was researching the Golden Gate Bridge a number of years ago. But that friend was not in a good place at the time. One of the interesting things about the statistics of the suicide attempts on the Golden Gate is there are a percentage who survive. And somebody has done a survey of a number of those people. There's not a huge number. There's 4 seconds between the moment you let go of the Golden Gate Bridge and the moment you hit the water.
Yeah.
And in the split second that those who survived who let go, they've all reported exactly the same thing. At the split second they let go, they had a solution to every problem that had forced them to jump. I think that's a powerful insight into how our minds can convince us that things are not great. And sorry, I get a little bit emotional talking about that. I've been in dark places myself, but thank you so much. A lovely reading. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for sharing your words and your wisdom and your time with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And so we move to our second guest poet of the evening. It was Massimo Elijah. I hope I'm pronouncing your surname correctly there, Massimo. Massimo is a spoken word poet born and raised in Philadelphia. He loves how the arts can give people freedom of expression as well as a common ground for coming together, where artist and audience remind each other how human beings are healers, also healed by healing others. Thank you for your welcome and support, and I also wanted to add that part of First Fortnight's mission resonates with me and my life, so I will be sharing poetry relevant to the theme of mental illness awareness. Thank you so much, Massimo. Can we have a huge, warm, Ovale welcome for Massimo Elijah?
Hey, thank you so much for having me. Can you hear me okay? All right, good, yeah. One note about mental health awareness. Or not somebody has a diagnosis. I think if you have a mind at all, then it's somehow relevant to you. So in that way, it's pretty universal. So I just ordered my pieces to kind of share what, some of my journey has been with that. And hopefully it resonates. So this first piece is called Delusion. So on a light stream of illusion, I see my likeness in the fruit of life that I'm consuming. I try not to be frightened by confusion. If love is where the truth begins, like roots with the fruit within. So I conjure up my image in a vision, but it's different than the one positioned sitting where I'm sitting. Can I bridge the distance from the dream to what I'm living, as the dream and dreamer reunite through the division? It's funny, makes you lonely, keeps you company. If it were a mirror, I'd be truly beautiful and ugly. I see my face in multitudes as they outnumber me. Sometimes their worries trouble me, but they're so vulnerable, it humbles me. I know I'm just an organ to the universal organism, but somehow I'm still the source of the schism where this world was risen. I try to look for wholeness through a hole in a broken system, as though to decode a rhythm that's unspoken where our story is hidden. Because when I was searching for myself, I came up missing. The light within, outside in, felt like a prison. The art of dark thinking left my heart sinking, my spark dwindling where once there was a star twinkling. I thought I heard a voice inside a voice and started listening, speaking strange tales of reality and fiction. My mind began to tell me a story so gripping that it started to distort the reality that I was living. I thought I had the vision of a prophet, but I was just a fool with his finger in the socket. Wisdom's like a jewel that's hidden when I think I got it till it finds a way to light the world by slipping out my pocket. That's why I decided to trade my crown of thorns for a rose garden. I begged for pardon, but instead it honored me with rose garlands. I wish I could lay down my guard and let love be my guardian, but it takes heart for a broken heart to give its heart again. Holding on to old trauma like a lover long died. Instead, I traumatized the living friends who I forgot were on my side, who remind me beneath all my armor and my pride to pay more attention to the garden that's inside. There is no saint without a sin that might not warrant him to die, and no sinner that the sun has not pardoned with her shine. All right, thank y'all so much. This next piece is called Self-Care. So that's a good one to follow, Delusion. Is your behind washed? Is your face clean? Is your bed made? Is your space clean? Are your debts paid? Is your slate clean? Is your heart healthy? Is your plate lean? Do you have spare change and some spare clothes? Is your phone charged? Is your hair combed? Do you have a linen wear known? And can you get there with enough for the fare home? Is your home safe? Are your doors locked? Are your machines unplugged? Are the cords hot? Does the time in the tower match your clock? Is your alarm set? Will you snooze? Are you sure not? Do you have enough greens in your diet? Could you keep a physical routine if you tried it? Do you have a little peace and some quiet to dream your dream, but with the means to survive it? What do you do to be happy that doesn't lead to a choice that ends badly? Something you're skilled at, or work you do gladly, or something you're bad at, but that you love madly. Is there a love that you live for? Something or someone there's much you would give for? Is it mostly the love that you give, or is there worth giving your gifts for? And do you have peace on your conscience? Or do you do things you don't want to process? Could you do differently? Do you have options to clean out that dark room behind your eye sockets? Do you have good people you're in touch with? People you can trust and maybe have some fun with? Someone you love who you don't have to be in love with? Who's there in good weather and when the storm's coming? And one last question. Do you love yourself? Of course you do. Even if you don't, it's because you love yourself. Whatever you don't love is because of something else. So may the self take care of self. I wish you love and health. Is your behind washed? Is your face clean? Are your debts paid? Is your slate clean? Don't use my music as a fuel for your excuses. Artists are not enablers. We are muses. We just inspire you to do what you desire to. For the flame inside of you, none can hold a fire to. I promise you, I'm not here for guiding you. Just asking, why would you divide yourself and higher self in two? It's like anytime I strive for perfection, I don't like the fact that the way I'm. Why try to use a straight line as a reference when a line has no depth, but I have dimensions? Thank you. So this third piece is called The Place Where I Live At. I don't know if you do this in the way you speak English over there, but here we say, this is where that happened at, or this is where I can get this at. It's incorrect, but we throw an extra at on the end here, where we speak here. So in the place where I live at, there is no need for a monster, so forget that. Sticks at. What is. There is only memory and this fact. There is no magic where I live at. If you see it and you feel it and you be it, then it is that. No dream is better than the truth where it begins at, where love is not a See, there's the place where I live at, but there's another place I am from I try to get back. I see it in my mind, but it's too deep to dig at. What was once now. Now, how is that? Where was the switch at? And if I meant to fix it, then please show me where's the switch at and how it can be flipped back. I am blessed. Life is good. Yes, I get that. But I can't deny I'm still a little scared where I sit at. I kick back, but with vigilance, I'm lit up. Things move around me that could hurt me if I slip up. My body's pieces are too tender to be stitched up, delicately made with natural elements that synced up. I'm like a piece of fruit with water, love, and air I drink up, but solid as the same ground that makes the flowers stick up. Soft as the clouds that shift shapes as I think up, I love to fantasize, but must survive, so I sit up. I dream with my head down, but ears and eyes pricked up. It's easy to lift off, but seems hard to lift up. It's so quick to mess up and so long to fix up. I spent years cleaning from a moment's dust I kicked up. I've made mistakes, but before you lock my wrists up, know that every single piece I broke, I tried to pick up. I wasn't evil, I was mixed up. If ignorance were an excuse, we'd all be acquitted, but I roll in my tongue before I trip up. May any words I spill be sweeter still to lick up. I hesitate to speak, I'd rather sing and change the pitch up with notes that don't fit the storyline I have pinned up. Reality is better than any storyline I think up. And in the book of life, wherever I leave off, I have to pick up. That's why I always make the present moment the place where I live at. Because with no place to live, it's still a place I exist at. All the good and the bad that I did, it admits that, but still has remnants of a love that is intact. I promise you, it's not just a well that I wish at. It's as solid as this earth where all life finds its prints at, yet more subtle than the point my fingers try to tip at, where I have to fit the whole world inside this center where I spin at. I try to look for consistency, a place to loop the string at, but I only find a few hopeful points to hold some pins at, a few good choices, good habits that I stick at, a few safe houses where I know my key will fit at, a few loved ones who I feel safe to cry and grin at, and moments that remind me, this is heaven as I think back. I remember I was home once. I'm still trying to get back. But for right now, this is the place where I live at. Thank you. So this last piece is, I don't know if it's the last piece. Honestly, I haven't been keeping track of the time, but this is a blessing that I usually like to end. My grandmother used to have a crocheted, my aunt made my grandmother a crocheted blessing. It's an Irish blessing. It goes, may the road rise to meet you and may the wind always be at your back. I was curious if you guys know that, but I love, and there's a poem by John O'Donohue that's a blessing. And the way in your culture you write blessings is really beautiful, because it's less like a poem. It's like something you can just share. So anyway, I really love your blessings. This is called May All Beings Be Happy. May our healing come naturally. May we all find peace gradually. Till finally, there's nowhere and no one we'd rather be. And if there are any who are suffering, may there be an end to your suffering. A peaceful world is a lovely thing, but inside each of us is where it must begin. And may we all find forgiveness. Over burnt bridges, may love bridge the distance. Mistakes that we make show that we make a difference. So may innocence thought lost be found in this instance. And most importantly, may we show love to our loved ones who are here, who are gone, who we loved once. Wherever they are from, where they go, just may they always know that they're loved because we love them. And most importantly, may you be happy and find the feeling of your joy that comes naturally. May we all find peace gradually till finally there's nowhere and no one we'd rather be. Namaste, namaste, namaste. Amen, hallelujah, say hey. Shabbat shalom, umoja, ashe. Assalamu alaikum, may peace come to you and stay. I have heard that peace is not just the goal, but the way. But I have broken peace more times than I can say. That doesn't mean that I still can't just wish and pray that all creation someday to just be okay. All right, thank you.
Amen.
Thank you, Massimo. Thank you so much. There was so much in there, but it takes a heart for a broken heart to give its heart again. You know, when you've been in dark places, and I've been in dark places, it's not just about giving your heart again, it's about giving your soul again and finding a way. And it does take heart and courage to do that, but you know, my experience is that we can do it, and it's worth the effort. So thank you so much for that. Now, as you all know, we're here as part of the First Fortnight Festival. I'm delighted to say we have a First Fortnight representative with us. Maria, would you like to say a few words? I know I'm putting you on the spot, but if you'd like to say a few words, we'd love to hear from you.
No pressure. Thank you all so much. This is an amazing space. I'm so delighted to have found it. I'll be back. But thank you all for being part of First Fortnight. And for those of you who aren't aware, I know you got some introduction tonight. We're a mental health arts festival, and the clue is in the title. We happen in the first 2 weeks of January every year, and that's deliberate. It's a time of year when people may struggle and may be in need of some art and creativity and connection. And I don't think I need to sell to anybody the healing power of the arts, but that's something that we believe in, and we're striving to break down the stigma that's attached to mental health, because research that we've done over the years have shown that the stigma stops people from seeking help when they need it, and the sooner you seek help, the better the outcome will be. So thank you for welcoming me into this space. Thank you for holding this space for people. It's amazing. I'm delighted that you're part of First Fortnight. We have events all this week, both online and in person, and you'll find all the information on firstfortnight.ie. And thank you for having us.
Paul, I'll try and share the screen in a second. I don't know if it'll work, but we'll try it anyway. I just want to give people a bit of a background about how we got to this point and how we linked in with First Fortnight. This night, 6 years ago, the day David Bowie died, I was the MC at the Oval. We were in the Long Valley, and I had a poem written using David Bowie song titles, and I read it to open the night. Rosie O'Regan wrote an amazing 5-word poem the same night. If you have it, Rosie, share it. And what happened was that I realized when I wrote the poem when I read the poem that I wasn't really happy with it, and I kind of decided that night, the following day, I was going to rewrite it. And then the following Friday night, 4 days later, I went to see a play, the name of which eludes me now, written by Michel Marr in Cork, in the Firk and Crane, and it was a First Fortnight event. It was the first Fortnight event ever, and the play was about mental health, and I was absolutely inspired by the play. And I spoke to Claire on the night, and I rewrote the poem, and I created my first poetry film around that poem, and then reconnected with Claire. And then the following year we partnered, and we've been together ever since. Sorry, I get a little bit emotional when I talk about that week, because it was a really challenging week, but also a fabulous week. I'm going to try and share the screen here now and show the Bowie video that came out of that. So, Paul, what's going on here? This is very complicated looking for me. Oh, hang on, I think I might have it here. Yeah, I might have it. Tell me if this works. I don't know. Are we away?
Hooray, it works.
We're not getting any sound, Stan.
Getting it now?
I'm not getting any sound. Is anyone getting?
I don't know. I can't explain that to Paul. It's got sound at my end, so
Can I try it from my end, Stan, and we'll see what happens?
Yeah, if you have it there, yeah.
You can also share the video in the comments. That'd be awesome as well.
Say again, Philip.
You can put the video in the comments as well. That'd be great.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's
muting yourself, Stan.
Say again.
Can you just mute yourself there?
Mute myself, of course. Yeah.
After today, Peter, pretty things are going to hell and we'll be dancing. Little wonder I feel free, for I am divine when kooks tumble and twirl up the hill backward in the chant. ever circling skeletal family drive the unwashed and somewhat slightly dazed underground. Imagine, I say to myself, an occasional dream of Andy Warhol's art decade, the Buddha of suburban glass and almost grown reptile. Imagine isolation as your sole love. Heroes under pressure trying to get to heaven. Dead men walking. All the young dudes shaking all over Kingdom Come. A lust for life is nothing to be desired, Peter, and I know it's going to happen someday. When I live, are the dead. So sacrifice yourself, Peter. Sacrifice yourself to some weird sin sake. Please, Mr. Gravedigger, I'm tired of my life. Let me sleep beside you in a small plot of land where sound and vision black out. And sorry, Mr. Wolf, my voyeur of utter destruction, but my death, it's no game. And you can't talk here today, gone tomorrow, when in reality, I wish you would move on. So I say to myself, what's really happening is day in, day out, a sense of doubt runs around and around my sweet head. And I keep forgetting the mirror telling lies. I'm deranged. Without you, I'm nothing. Can hide away the truth that there is a happy land, a better future, a brighter voyage, outside the hurt and sorrow that fills my heart. Can you hear me, Mr. Wolf? Can you hear me, Mr. Gravedigger? There is a happy land, a better future, a fantastic voyage. So get real. I can't give everything away. I've things to do. So go now, move on. Anyway, anywhere, anyhow, move on. It ain't gonna be easy, me that survives. Thanks for sorting that out for me, Paul. Appreciate it, as always. I'm going to share the link in the chat there, and I'm going to ask you now, guys, to start putting your names in for the open mic. And while I'm waiting for a few names to come in, there's two things I always say about that video. One is I stole the idea of the mirror thing from Michel Maher's play. And two is, God, wouldn't it be amazing if it was that easy to heal from a mental health scenario? 3.5 minutes. It isn't, but I speak from experience. You can come back a long, long way from very dark place. And I was delighted Maria mentioned the arts, because creativity has been an absolutely massive part of that journey for me. So thanks again, Paul. Thanks everybody for watching. Now I'll have to slow down there a small bit down. All that's. We'll start the open mic with Philip. And I've got, so Philip, whenever you're ready there.
Thank you so much, and well done for an excellent night. Great standard of poetry. As always, Stana, when you're in a crowded party, sometimes you want to go away and deal with something and come back and jump back into the pool. I know what that feels like, and that's what I get from that poetry film. That's what I really like about it. That's why I really like it. And well done. I'm gonna try something risky. Let's see if I forget the lyrics or do well at it. Anyway. When I get a feeling when I get, a calling when I get, a taste in my mouth and I know it. To fire and water we are dancing in parallel, and I know it, that you know it too. We are embers in the waves. We are embers in the waves. She's a fire, watching the approaching waves. She's a candle, watching the approaching storm, and I know it. We are castaways, going our own way. Embers in the waves, embers in the waves, embers in the waves, embers in the waves. I might be very out of tune, but I hope you like the idea. That song is stuck. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Philip. I hope it's not too late to say goodnight to Cahill. I don't know if he's gone there or not, but good to see you, Cahill. Right, I have a whole load of people on the open mic. Rosie, your name's not there yet. I'd be devastated if I don't hear a certain poem that I mentioned earlier on from you, but no pressure, my love. Next up is, now, before I announce this name, there is I'm going to say this, there is no need now for this next reader to compliment Paul Casey or myself anymore. She is already the 5-word champion. Lauren, let's have your open mic contribution, my love.
Thanks so much, Stan. And I just want to say I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so grateful to First Fortnight for fighting, the stigma with mental health. As I think a lot of people here already know, I have a diagnosis of bipolar disorder, and I've had, many mental health struggles. And not that it's something that I'm particularly proud of, but I do try to mention it as much as possible, even when I don't want to, because I think it's important that we talk about it and we make it normal to mention these things and, put faces to the name of diagnoses. And I have a little piece that's on theme as well. It's part of a much longer piece. Journey experience that I had. The piece is called How I Came to Spend Christmas in a Psychiatric Facility. But I'm just going to read a little piece off the end. So to bring up to speed, what's happened up until this point is I have been taken to hospital against my will by the police at this point. So here we go. And that's the hospital staff, the police are gone now at this point. They give me a drink and a sandwich and leave me in the room to wait alone. It feels more like an office than a hospital. It smells like sterilized bureaucracy. I leave the room to see will anyone stop me. They don't. I turn to it. A hospital security guard looks at me from his position seated next to the door, keycard swipe. Scratch that. I guess I'm not going anywhere. I return to the room. I'm worried that they probably panic or worse, but they have no idea of the caliber of who they're dealing with. I ran an international company in charge of multi-million-dollar contracts, travel the world. I have friends in high places, professional people with power. I just need sleep and time away from the domestic nightmare that is the relationship with my husband. I know they'll be looking for agitation, strange behavior, lack of ability to sleep. I try to relax in a chair and pretend to doze. I wrap my arms around myself and hug my father's hoodie. I play pumped up kicks by father. I'm planning how to distract the security guard and escape when the door opens and 2 doctors in full white coat armor march in. 1 man, 1 woman. They sit down opposite me, introduce themselves, and start asking questions. Many questions. How old is your daughter? When was she born? When were you born? How old are you? Do you have any thoughts of harming yourself? They ask me today's date, and my mind returns a void. I am very surprised. They are not surprised. I'm bad with numbers. I'm tired. I try to explain. I'm scrambling inside. I flip through my mind, looking for a temporal frame of reference, any frame of reference. It's Christmas. It's December. There were Christmas things in the store. The one that I take her to after we're done with the park at the train station. She loves that park with the soft slides. I wave away the slides that are distracting me. I think it must be the 11th, but the 11th was when the electricity bill was due, and that's paid, I think. Or was that in November? It's November? No, December. It's December. I know, it's the 14th. No, maybe the 15th or the 16th. It's definitely December. It's the 14th or the 15th or the 16th. I am proud. But from the look of faces, it wasn't much of an achievement. They were eventually satisfied with my interrogation. I'm certain that it's just a matter of a few rubber stamps and I'll be back in my own bed by midnight. The doctors leave, saying they'll be back soon with their supervisor and answers. The wait for their return seems endless. I try to sleep, but I can't. I blame the office chairs, I blame the hospital, I blame Sean. Sad, hopeless feelings attack me and I melt into the chair, onto the floor, a sobbing puddle. As quick as the feelings come, again they're gone. Back again. In an in-between moment, with my feet up and my hood pulled down over my eyes, the door opens. The two doctors from my interrogation enter, followed by an older man, the promised supervisor. He gets straight to it and tells me in a condescending voice that I'm manic and they're going to keep me at least overnight for observation. My heartbeat responds by racing to adrenaline. I'm frightened of being locked up. I've never been to a psychiatric hospital except in movies and books, and those were not fun-time holiday destinations. This was not supposed to happen. I meant to go home. I tried to explain that I'm not manic. I'm just having trouble sleeping and having a hard time with my husband. I don't understand why I'm here and I want to go home, I say. Supervisor ignores me and repeats himself manic. I don't understand why I can't go home. Is hospital care not voluntary? I haven't done anything wrong. I want to go home. The supervisor is getting frustrated. He sounds like he's talking to a child. He reminds me that I was brought in by the police and they have every right to hold me for as long as they need to determine I'm not a threat to myself or others. The report says you stated you were going to jump off the balcony, and here it says you destroyed a wall in anger. Just take your medication and enjoy the time to rest. Everything will come right in a few days. I tell them that I was never going to jump. That was just an ill-timed metaphor. I'm poetic. And what if I kick my own wall? And most importantly, I don't want to take any medication. I tell them my GP says I'm currently having a reaction to sertraline and I need to stop medication. I definitely don't need any new medication. I just need space and rest. Supervisor is not interested and is halfway out the door already. He leaves with his head on his clipboard and his last words are that there will be injections if I don't take tablets. I'm crying openly now. Everything that could have gone wrong has gone fantastically spectacular. This time in my adult life, I'm stripped of my own autonomy, my own authority, and under the control of a system I don't understand or trust. My thoughts pinball between wordless emotions and flashing images. A nurse arrives to lead me to my bed for the night, one in a row of 7 lined up along a wall in the corridor directly across from the psychiatric A&E nurses station. A skinny man in a hospital gown stares at me intensely from his bed as I walk past. A flimsy green paper curtain is drawn around most of the other beds. The nurse takes everything. My phone, my headphones, my ring, my dad's old hoodie, the forms I've just been given, everything except my underwear. I'm given a hospital gown as a nightdress, followed by a plastic cup with pills and a paper cup with water. I don't want injections. I don't want them to give them more ammunition to justify my involuntary status. I swallow the tablets. I swallow them even though I know they will neuter my mind. I know they will dull my brilliance and cull my superiority, and I'll be back among the sheep, doing sheepy things like knowing the date, but not knowing what the meaning of life is or what music is for. Room tomorrow, now it's time to sleep, the nurse says as she takes the cups and pulls my curtain around. I lie on my trolley bed. I could reach through the paper curtain on either side and touch lumps of man flesh in neighboring beds. I try not to think about the lumps of man flesh reaching out to touch me. Arms in tight and my thoughts in tighter. I can't remember the last time I slept. I am, in fact, becoming increasingly confident I no longer need sheep sleep. I stare at the ceiling. A sudden wave of scorching sadness, panic, trapped. 5 things I see. Blue curtain, ceiling stain, smoke alarm, fluorescent light, tile dividers. 4 things I feel. Rough gown, tight sheets, my heart racing, cold feet. Eventually the medication digests, making the journey to my intestines and then my blood. I fall asleep conducting a symphony of sounds. Knock, snore, slide, groan. Knock, snore, slide, groan. Thank you.
Well, so much to unpack there, Lauren. Thank you so much. First of all, just in case anybody is, and we can be very easily affected when we're hearing stuff like that. There is loads of places to go for help. I'm sure First Voice have loads of them on their website. Certainly, if you're, struggling or finding some of this difficult to listen to, you can certainly shout to me. I'm more than happy to take that phone call or that message to make sure you're okay, and do make sure you're okay. You've great taste in music even when you're unwell, Lauren. Foster, pump up. fostering the people. And I didn't know you were bipolar, and I think this is one of the most interesting things about mental health issues. When I was diagnosed and I started telling people that I'd been diagnosed with depression, the most usual reaction was, "You're shitting me, you're joking, or you hid that well." What we see and what we project is not always what's going on. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. A few there on the open mic. You know, one of the problems with this stuff is that trying to keep track of things while you're actually being sucked in by people reading poetry is really difficult. I have a message from one person saying 5 words. We're on the open mic. You might just clarify that you want to be on the open mic. I act together here while Pam Campbell reads a poem to us. Hiya, Pam.
Okay. I'm going to read a poem that is an epistolary poem. It's a letter poem. And actually, I was partnered in a class with a woman, and we had been on a retreat together previous, and we were instructed by our teacher to write a poem to each other about that meeting. We didn't know what each other was going to write. And what was astonishing is we wrote about the same thing. And so here's my poem. Open Door. You remember me writing to you about the open doors, those spoken about by Sister Mary Margaret to me at the Mother House? Well, friend, when I opened your letter and saw that we recalled the very same moment in our first meeting, I thought, this is an open door. One that I caught a glimmer of that day in the kitchen of the Mother House. Sometimes we cross thresholds without knowing, not meaning to take breath of space from another, hoping that there is air enough for difference, for connection. That day when I said I was homeless, your eyes shadowed, your muscles tensed, the room lost its warmth. I slipped back across the threshold just as the door whispered shut. I feared judgment in the silence and wished I could draw the word back from that brief shared space. Yet I learned in your recent letter that you cast no stones. The 2 steps back you took were for air you perceived to be calmer and safer, albeit reckoning it an empty trade, the currency for security. I am no stranger to hopeful building on branches too frail to hold. We are the women woven in wrong tradition, in quiet desperation, birds on a wire strung too tight, too charged. You call yourself a slow learner. Oh, gentle friend, you were a quick learner of lessons taught to women. We are not figured equal in the equation the world dictates, putting aside self for family and others, giving, not receiving. Even in the best of circumstances, primed to run dry. And worst, to thirst for home and haven and burrow in sunless caves. You say your heartstrings that tethered you to this ground have been severed, and you don't know where to go. Blessed unknowing, here is where self-rule starts, on your ground, not another's, not even common ground yet. For how can we create common ground? Self-governing requires knowledge. Knowledge requires expansion. Expansion requires breath. I learned to breathe into dark ache, deep in the bone of me, the hollow of my emptiness. Breath that bent, but did not break me. Breath by breath drew me into the blade of sadness, and anger sharpened and defined me, grounded me. Here, friend, is where you start. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam. Thank you. You've got a lovely reading voice. Has anybody ever told you that?
Y'all have been so kind. Thank you. I love hearing you say that, all of you.
Thank you so much. Jeff is next up.
Okay, so
Jeff.
yep, hello. So here's a relatively new poem in which I've decided to take a proto-feminist approach to the Sistina format while examining the male gaze as depicted in the independent Palestinian cinema of the early 1970s as seen through a prism of Bakhtinian dialogism and post-structural Marxist theory with respect. Nah, I'm just having you. This is about slugs. Baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs. Baby slugs crawling through the soil and dirt, searching for leaves and grass to feed on. Baby slugs hatching from their tiny eggs, poking out through the layers of debris. Baby slugs slithering over the moist. Baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs. Baby slugs looking up at the dimming sky, seeing filthy images in the cloud patterns. Baby slugs marching through the park at noon, striking fancy poses for the tourists' cameras. Baby slugs making inappropriate passes at your significant other. Baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs. Baby slugs running around like savage maniacs, knocking over your grandfather's antiques. Baby slugs hunching over your study desk, finding new loopholes in your tax documents. Baby slugs, wondering if a Motorhead reunion could work without Lemmy. Baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs. A 10% tip. Baby slugs talking too loud at the movies, kicking the back of your seat during the big reveal. Baby slugs screaming rude words at your child's kindergarten teacher. Baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs planning a violent revolution, sparing only the people with the cleanest socks. Baby slugs plotting world domination, using an egg beater, a rooster, and 5 Twinkies. Baby slugs naming the galaxies after their favorite Belgian wrestlers. Baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs, baby slugs. So in case you didn't catch it, that was called Baby Slugs. And I have a novel coming out soon. I'm going to put the link to the Facebook group for that in the chat, as well as an interview I did for other stuff. There we go.
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. I'm sure I'll be dreaming of Baby Slugs tonight. Having said all that, that fake introduction, if I can call it that, you should write that as a poem. It was brilliant.
It's really kind of the only reason I wrote the poem.
Whatever you said, I hope you recorded and just write it down and read as a poem. Genius. All right. No, we have a member of the Spice Girls next. I'm saying that because this is Catherine B.
So Martha's going to go next. And then I'm going to go.
Okay, so hang on a second. Who's going next?
Martha.
Martha. Okay, lovely.
Unless she's not ready, then I'll go.
Is she a member of the Spice Girls as well?
Me? I do. How could you forget? But are you comparing me to a Spice Girl?
Yeah. Go on, I'll explain it all later. Where's Martha?
Maybe she's not ready. I'll go. Are you there?
I'm ready now. Sorry.
All right.
I'll just put my video on. Sorry. I also have a bad throat, so this might sound horrible. So sorry about that. 2 seconds. I just can't see myself. Oh yeah. Okay. Right. So this poem is about basically when Christmas goes horribly wrong, which it does on quite a regular basis in my house. So this is called, excuse me, I'm just going to have a sip of water first. This is called When the Merriment Fades. Okay. Crackling with electricity, she felt it first, rising unease, dig after dig ricocheted off her tiny, weather-beaten frame. Bitterness found its way into her heart. Laugh it off, she thought, bury it. It had gone too far. Her anxiety was rising still, coagulating in her organs, seeping into her heart. And then it happened. She couldn't do it anymore. She exploded. Debris ricocheted off the walls. The house trembled. She cried and screamed, screamed and cried. Ruined, she thought. It's all ruined. No, it isn't, said the angel. Breathe, said the angel. The angel brought her a cup of tea and hugged her and told her it was all going to be okay. These things happen at Christmas, she said. It's sad when they do, she thought. But a very small part of her knew that the angel was right.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you. Now, is the Spice Girl Catherine B ready this time?
Spice One is here. So I didn't realize this was mental health 2 weeks, but my piece fits right into it. I just wrote down a few things so you know where it's coming from. I'm an ACA, or adult child of alcoholics, and was heavily abused. And I have what's called complex PTSD. And I have a history of totally dysfunctional relationships with most relationship people. And I've learned how to stand up for myself. So I don't have any relationships. But no, so here's what I'm doing now. And this one is titled Clause. I will not be your dangling participle. I will not be your adjective clause. I will not let you add a semicolon. To you, I will not be anything at all. I will not be your paragraph indentation. I will not be your conveniently deleted text. I refuse to be a type of reformatted body. I will never be your relegated, delegated mess. I will not allow for subjugation or negation. I will not allow for you to treat me wrong. You may think you can override or control me, but for me, keeping my integrity is what counts. I will not accept your daggers or your curses. I will not be available to any unkind thoughts. I will not allow you to own or control me, because for me, you will not be anything at all. I will not be your misdiagrammed sentence. I will never be your spell-checked phrase. I hereby release any and all cords and attachments that ever connected me to you in the first place. I will not be a slave to your tenses, whether they be past, present, or future. I will not allow you to judge blindside me, nor to ever circumvent, circle, or contain. I will not be your vague first-person pronoun. I will not be drawn into second-person duos. I will not allow for your dirty third-person statement to contaminate or cloud any part of my soul. I will not be there for single-lettered whiteouts, nor will I agree to immediate autocorrect. You will need to speak to me in complete sentences with every part of the definition intact. I will not be tossed aside like some quick interjection, neither dissected into a predicated verb or obtuse phrase, designated as a mere propositional pronoun, just so you can come off sounding cool and amazing. I will not be followed by a series of commas. I am never, no, ever a question mark. I am always written in ink, not in erasable pencil. I am always the main clause. I am a complete thought. I will not be your dangling participle. I will not be your adjectival clause. I will not let you add a semicolon, because to you, I will not be anything at all. Thank you.
Well, I love it when things come together. So the Spice Girl reference was for a reason I'll explain later.
Okay.
A bit of girl power there, wasn't it? Good for you.
It was, yay.
Good for you.
Felt good.
Yeah, thank you so much. So next up is Cal.
Cheers, Dan. That's going to be hard to follow.
How you doing?
It's bad. I didn't realize there was a theme this week, so this is just another generic love poem for you. It's called Hopeless Romantic. I hear it, spirit song, melodies you make breathe, plucked from my heartstrings. It winds beneath and through, tender corkscrew caresses the space between my atoms. Its chords and my words, strange snowflakes twist on the tongue. To know you is to know the dark places. Their pale skin bristles before your glow. Or do they form only for this dance, conceived in the brief brush of eyes, Hail Mary throw wilted shadows on the wall? I follow your tune, though I see the river swells. But there is shelter in that world between your gaze and the ground. Sweet dip where time is whisper and distance myth. Cheers.
Thanks, Cal. Appreciate it. What was the bit of it? Romantic? What?
Hopeless, comma, romantic.
Okay, cool. So much. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay. Okay, right. So yeah, after doing learning a lot about the brain over the last 8 years and recovering daily still, I have in the last year had kind of a backlash that came out of the depth of my heart from inside the family, basically, and this is what I'm reading about. Estranged. Today I wake to a bad day. With Christmas close, I am of my waiting, slowly 8 months after. You tore yourself away from my heart, left a crater so deep never known before, as physical as birthing you. I'm bleeding still. Again and again when you tug at the crust with news through family roots, or other mothers showing off their now grown-up kids at grandma's funeral. I cringe as the blood in my heart oozes again like my tears, flooding me with pain, and not for the first time. Only to find have I hear and feel the echo. We suffer the silence. The love we have grown over the years. Today I wake to a bad day. My numbness so profound I need to burst out. Today I typed and found and cried, and I began to speak. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Roz. Thank you so much. Stress and strains on the mind can come in lots of different ways. Be good to yourself, my love. Next up is Cedric.
So this one is called, sorry, better probably. This one is titled Exoskeleton Scaphandre. Scaphandre is a diving suit. It's a French word for diving suit, but you know, the heavy kind with copper and brass and this strange window in the front of the face and everything that was used to dive in. And that was very heavy for the purpose of being able to go in depth. The weighted blanket must be discarded temporarily now for a couple of hours. As long as the sun is up, the cocoon is too weak of a shell. Right before the first foot touches the floor, a breath fills the lungs. The first gesture of life, a morning ritual in remembrance, one day to be appreciated. Cold contact, a jolt from the soul to the mind. Harden yourself. The muscles grind heavily, obeying memories. The skin turns to chitin, the mind flushing out at the sound of the percolator. The mental space will host the soul that could not stick to the weakened backbone. The smell of coffee grounds the divine for the day. The mantra keeps the seal in place. It's 8 in the morning. It's not hell, no matter how much you hate it. Hold your breath, and it will be a dream to breathe in.
Did I get a line in that correctly? Is one of the lines in that, it's not hell no matter how much you hate it? Wow, excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you. I thought it, for a second, I thought it misheard it. Now, the second member of the Spice Girls is here. Ah,
And my nickname at work at one stage was Psycho Spice, so I'll take that. Now, this poem I'm going to read was conceived in UCC in one of Paul Casey's classes. It's called Let Me Tell You How I Am. I am a warrior without a tomahawk, a kite without wind, a well without water, a wizard without spell, a poet without poem cover, a crayon without fingers, an egg without shell, a candle without cake, a fairy without wings, an altar without prayer, a church without bell, a cracker without cheese, a beach without sand, a rider without horse, an ocean without swell, a painter without canvas, a night without moon, an evening without kiss, and only time will tell. But if you ask me how I am, I say, sure, I'm grand.
thanks, Catherine. For the international people in the audience, sure I'm grand is how Irish people answer every question. Every time they're asked, how are you? Sure I'm grand.
Grand.
Sure, I'm grand. On the floor inside, crawling across glass, and sure I'm grand.
It's
That's-
like the American fine.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you know what they call fine in therapy training, don't you? Stands for fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. But that's another story altogether, right? I'm not saying that's you know, Roz, just, you know, that's actually what the acronym they use. Augustina is next.
Hi. This is called Insignificant Significance. Sometimes my mind gets in this very ranty situation. And this is what came out of one of those. To live and breathe without the world, but the world lives and breathes without you once you're done. Being conscious of our insignificant significance in such a beautiful and rich world with so much we don't know, we don't understand and never will. Peaceful chaos. Recognition of our own significant insignificance gifts something almost like clarity. Escape what seems like minor human concerns and see the larger world and universes around and within us, walking beautiful universes inside universes. We are not magnificent, but we are a small piece of the world's puzzle. The puzzle is magnificent. The puzzle is magnificent art, yet that puzzle is a piece of another puzzle, which is a part of another puzzle, of another puzzle. And no puzzle is complete without a missing piece. But then, is it fair to use puzzle in this instance? Is this a puzzle that can ever be completed? Isn't it too grand and constantly expanding, adding? I guess we're part of magnificence, from the magnificent, creators from the creator, gods from God, insignificant, significant, magnificent, but not magnificent, yet irrelevant and relevant, though tiny, but somehow humongous, destructive and creative, hideous but beautiful beings. Thanks.
Thank you, Augusta. Thank you, Augustina. My apologies. Thank you so much. And the girl power keeps on coming. We're on a roll. Mona is next.
This is my first time here. I listened to Catherine and Lauren talk about Ovail, and I thought I'd come along. But the theme tonight has stunned me. As a granny exuding unconditional love for about 9 young grandchildren, that doesn't give me the language for the one of them who has been diagnosed bipolar. So tonight's reading has been, it's stunned me, and I'll be getting in touch with Lauren for her brilliant poem. And I apologize for bringing such a light-hearted poem because I didn't know about the theme. By R.J. Purcell. The chimes that from the great giant tower or city streets reverberate exert a momentary power where trade and commerce operate, and lips grow faintly tremulous in fleeting tribute to salute the ringing of the Angelus. So I wrote this poem called Reverberations in memory of the bells that rang out in my own childhood village. The bell rings out full of depth, a voice calls, draw together, a patchwork of fields, lake, woods, even a castle. My heart knows the taste of the earth there, the zing of the rain on my face. The fields, the roads bear my footprints. While sand seeps through time, I sometimes go back, battle with the traffic today, where once only the local hackney reigned. Across from the church stands the factory gates, quiet now. Once its discordant hooter vied for attention with the bell. It called women in wraparound aprons, skilled at warping and weaving, oil-stained men in overalls, rags dangling from back pockets. They kept the machines singing. They gathered again on Sundays, answering the bell in polished shoes and white collars. While I knelt and watched my freckle-faced brother in his starched surplice and soutane, swinging the thurible, participating in a world closed to us girls. We all took steps to freedom, but chains of memory shackle us. Thank you.
Thanks, Marvel. We've heard quite well. I've heard a bit about you, and I've met you once as well. Nice last line, very nice last line as well. I know what memories feel like when they're shackles. So thank you. No, the girl power just keeps on coming. Margaret O'Reilly.
This one is from the Blue Mondays anthology. And even though it's not necessarily written about mental health, but what I advocate for the over 70s is to be sexually active. And I think that's very good for your mental health. And it's also good for your immune system. And if you haven't got a partner from time to time, be sexually active anyway with yourself. This is called Passion. Stirrings begin in my mind, passionate thoughts run wild, sensual sensations of you, the feel of you, the scent of you, the taste of you, the heat of you. Feelings flood my senses, every muscle tenses, blushes bring hot-blooded flushes, through every pore it rushes. Red hot desire quickens, Exciting turn-on visions, pleasure zones exude erotically charged fluids, and all this before you walk in the door. That's it.
Thanks, Margaret. Always a pleasure to hear you. Now, finally, I don't mean this in a bad way. Girl power is going to come to an end for a little while. Now, this is a very, very special moment. We have a man from Israel who wants to share a poem with us. Am I pronouncing your name correctly by saying Isaac? Isaac? Paul, can you unmute him?
Okay. Thank you. Hello, friends. My friend Alexandra invite me, and I am a poet in Israel and all over the world. And I translated many poems of my friends, and my poem from Hebrew to English, or English to Hebrew, and I take many festivals and anthologies. Today I read one poem, a small poem. Yes, Isaac Cohen. The mystery of love. The storm that opens the door. The gate that invites you to fly. You want to be serious. Have you swum in the lake of the sky? Can you know how much you feel? Maybe. Thank you, Isaac Cohen, Israel, and thank you, friends. And
thank you so much. Thank you, thank you for reading. Always, always a pleasure.
Thank you.
To have new people, and especially overseas people. And Mags, I have seen your name. Don't panic. I haven't. I will get to you, my love. I think that's the third time you've given me a nudge. Next up, though, we're back to the girl power is Mary O'Connell, and this is girl power at its best. Come on, Mary.
Oh, thank you. This is an echo. I can't. Can you get this echo?
Some feedback there at the moment.
Yeah, well,
it sounds like. Are you watching on Facebook or are you on the Zoom?
I'm on Zoom. Was on something else, and maybe I didn't close that down, perhaps. So,
What any ideas how we might fix that?
I don't know how I can do it. They're both on. Oh God, this is terrible.
Dolphins have joined.
Mary.
Yeah, Paul, what do you suggest?
Okay, first of all, I'm just going to mute you. Okay, so I won't be able to hear you. But when I look in the participants list, there are 2 of you, which means you've signed in twice somehow. So there may be a second tab opened up on your browser, which has got Zoom open, or you may have another Zoom session opened up on your phone, perhaps, or on another device. Okay, I can't hear you now. Just unmute yourself there for a
Sorry.
second.
Let's forget about it because it's not working. Okay, we'll forget about it.
Okay, we're going to
Hey,
move on.
Paul,
Can I make a suggestion?
could I ask a question? Sorry. Paul, can you tell if she's on her phone in addition to being on the computer?
No, I can just see 2 instances. They're probably just, they could be 2 devices, or they could be two instances the same device, which is probably not very likely, but it could be.
Okay.
Someone else? Massimo, did you want to say something?
Can you pick one, Paul, as the host? Can you put one of them into the waiting room? So if she unmutes, you'll be able to see which one she's talking on, and then the one that doesn't mute,
Let's go for
pick
that.
that one.
Let's do that. Yeah.
I'll
Let's
just
do
put one
that.
in. Try again there, Mary.
Okay. Okay, try and unmute yourself there now.
I'm unmuting myself
Yep,
now.
that's it. That works.
Fantastic. Okay, well, I didn't realize that it was first the sad week that it is, or fortnight, the first fortnight. So my is very irreverent, and it was kind of written because of, well, it was written a long while ago, but it's because of Novak Djokovic is very much in the news. So I pulled out my old tennis poem. And I was just struck by Novak, his Christian name, even though he's not a Christian, I suppose. But anyway, Novak suggests a whole pile of things that we won't go into now. But anyway, this is called What the Juice. You couldn't call him sporty, yet he was always game. But life just playing singles had grown too late, had grown of late too tame. He begged a flame-haired Amazon to pardon him one day. For this backhanded compliment, she swore he'd have to pay. How dare he match his skill with hers or try to win his heart? Or how dare he match his skill with hers or try to win her heart when she wanted to beat him from the start? Refusing his proposal, she laughed him out of court, saying, "You're no ace. In fact, your serve is always far too short." From the racket she created this volley of abuse, the net result was clear to see for those not too obtuse. He'd never play mixed doubles or have a chance to swing. When trying to smash her forehand, the poor chap broke a string. Forced errors and 3 double faults distressed him even more. Confronted by a loveless match, he lacked the balls to score. Dum dum. Thank you, Paul. Thanks, Jan.
Thank you, Mary. And listen, laughter is the best medicine. And anybody who's dealing with a mental health issue is feeling low. It's wonderful to hear your wonderful wit at play. Thank you so much. And Lauren, thanks for that brilliant piece of thinking with the waiting room. Mary, we can never get enough of you, but we had too much of you tonight when there was 2 of you, you know what I mean? But these things happen. Thanks, Lauren. No, Mose, are you ready to rock and roll?
I wouldn't call it that. It's just something I wrote.
I'm the host, so you're going to have to live with it. Let's rock and roll. Come on.
Okay, it's something I wrote, and I can never. Here's a short one. It's called "Available for Rebirth." A gestation period of unknown duration in soothing darkness, as the outside world falls apart and systems crack down. Safety in isolation. A single candle offers brightness, modestly relaying the message, an overpowering source. Reduced to rays seeping through cracks. At dawn, the reawakening that we revisit daily throughout life, a vast ocean of light, awaiting us every fraction of a second. That's it. Thank you.
That's what you call rock and roll, Mose. Thanks a million. Thanks a million.
I think it's gospel, actually.
We're getting very close to the end of the list now. Kemi is next.
Hi. So I've never read this poem out loud before, and it's a difficult poem. So it's called Stuck in Traffic. Tension consumes me, but I won't let on. Distraction and humor leaves disarray undetected, locked up, still stuck in traffic. Inside, I'm raging. I sit back and holding, observing those lunatics curse and crash. These are the worst enemies, my worst enemies, not just the littered excess of vehicles, but the forced composure, the surge in tempers, the shutdowns and chin-ups, the violent gesturing, and the impulsive calls for retribution. Frustration's pain should find relief. Deliberate movements, controlled exits, a safe release of passions. Cutting through the flesh of the matter is deeper than surface expressions. The mechanics, predictable and palliative, blades engineered to relieve buried tension. Misery made manifest, then dismissed. Marks of measured release, tattoos of triumphant treatment. Scars don't tell tales when arms are well-dressed. And yet, traffic keeps stopping at certain points, routes choked along the journey. Frustrations flow recurring. Rage finds some safe passage, but gridlock re-emerging. Humor exhausted, fuel for the early days. Restraint rescued composure, abandoning me to chaos. I am a lunatic, cursing and crashing, sitting back, compressing, emotions threatening to burst through every orifice. Traffic calming measures a constant threat. Now treatment mutates, violating wounds that lay healing for incisions that have lost their cure.
Thank you so much, Kemi, for sharing that difficult poem. It was wonderful. Thank you so much. Now we're at the end of the open mic list. We're going to finish with a lady who could have been on the list 3-4 times tonight. She was that keen to get on. So let's have a big, huge rock and roll ovate hot welcome for Mags Creedon.
Did you go waste then? I tell you, I thought you were finished, you see. Anyway, shortly, can you hear me now? No, I thought you were finished earlier. That's why I gave you the name. I'm only going to sing a song I've always sung about, because I've written many songs, but there's only one that expresses as well. But just briefly, talk about painting. Paint the blue days, the grey days, the soggy bottom hues days, the blurry melted shades. Splash on the gold sunspots, the glows that scintillate. Stroke your peach and coral sunrise, greet your better day. So I sing this little one I always sing for you on this particular night. There are voices that you hear that aren't mine. There are places that you visit in dark times. Just celebrate a rare and special night. Tonight you celebrate your shining. Listen to your soul voice, it's resolute and true. Don't be damped or drowned out by the crowd. We all have our foibles, that's for sure. Despite the fat cracks and fault lines, we prevail to endure. There are times when we are smiling in control, but inside an inner voice is on patrol, lashing out a dialogue to demean. And though your face is happy, your heart is ripping through the seams. See the inner beauty that only we perceive. Repaint your portrait boldly, reimagined and complete. And listen out for your soul voice, it won't lie. Listen out for your soul voice, it won't lie. There are voices that you hear that aren't mine, that aren't mine. I feel like finishing off with a happy song, but anyway. Best to look. Thanks for all the lovely readings tonight.
I don't know about you, but it was well.
Beautiful.
So, just want a couple of quick things before we go. Don't forget the next event is on Monday, the 14th of February. That's Valentine's Day, ain't it?
Hello.
Yes. Work from the Writers in the UCC's MA Creative Writing Programme. Always a fantastic night. Email info@ovail.ie if you want to attend in person. If we are hybrid, isn't it? 30 places, Paul, am I correct? That's what will be the maximum. So if you want to try and get there in person, if it is going that way, email info@ovail.ie. I want to thank everybody who's taken part tonight, everybody who took part in the 5-word challenge, everybody who shared their words on the open mic. You know, I've had my difficulties with mental health, and I will tell you from experience that talking about it and listening to other people is not just healing, it's empowering. I'm absolutely buzzing. I may not sleep very well tonight, but it has been absolutely worth it. I give a huge thank you to our two guests who gave us such wonderful words and entertainment, Mark Granier and Massimo Elijah. Thank you so much, guys, for being here, for your time, for your words, for your wisdom.
Dan, did you overlook someone?
Sorry?
Did you overlook someone on the open mic?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Did Augustina get to read?
They did.
Oh, you were? Did you hear it?
They did, right?
Whoops. I'll read it for you later.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Been one of those nights, Ross. Anyway, so huge thank you and a round of applause to the two guests. We'll see you on the 14th. I'm going to leave you with a poem. And there's lots of things that help with mental health issues. I do lots of different things, but gratitude is a huge part of my daily practice now. So I'm going to leave you with a poem that I wrote about gratitude. And there's little bits in it that the words are written by somebody else. There's usually music to it, but I'm not going to sing because nobody wants to hear me sing. This is called In Gratitude for This Magnificent Day. What a day, what a day, what a day. I'm a hummingbird this morning. I'm feeling so good and fitting in with the misfits. And my useless trinkets tattoo love the loveless on rusty pipes in our cathedral. In the yard, behind the church at Jehovah for a good deal, while a pretty strawberry blonde ballerina with eyes down dreams about being a true original. And an altar boy with a fly swatter, fingertips a daisy looking up through concrete at skywriting that says, oh, what a beautiful morning. What a day, what a day, what a day. The sky bursts into a parade. There's something strange about an altar boy with a fly swatter, but I like the way this is going. So in an oh so lovely lilac breeze, thing, a kindred spirit maybe, tips longing that feels like the beginning of I can't help falling in love into this town, and an overture filled with all the beautiful things I have to offer. My sad raincoat, a $200 tattoo, the mistakes of my youth, soars like a swallow in the sun singing, hey man, now you're really living. And I know today is the day. Estranged friends man up and bow out of the quandary of the last time we spoke. You were so unpleasant. What a day, what a day, what a day. The sky bursts into a parade. Not a cloud, not a cloud, not a cloud in our way. Only blue skies, only blue skies. Man, where I'm at is an epiphany. And the only thing I care about is living the mystery of life. So at dusk, I am building a shrine to this wonderful, glorious, and magic world, because these are things the grandchildren should know. In gratitude for this magnificent day, I'm a hummingbird, longing that feels like the beginning of I can't help falling in love with all of these beautiful things. What a day, what a day, what a day. Good night. Good night and thank you all.
Thank you. It was gorgeous as ever.
Beautiful poem.
No, we can chat away now, Paul, can we, for a few minutes?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's the way.
If anyone's hanging out.
Oh, what a night.
Lauren, did you get